So I'm going to throw the first high-level question. Where does marketing stand within the business, and how much are we listened to?
I'll go first. So somebody has to dive in. I think we are in a really lucky position. Data has brought marketing to life in a way that it never has in years gone by, and I think we have better recognition from the board, better seniority, more value to offer our organisations than ever before. And I suspect you'll hear these two letters repeatedly, but the board are interested in AI, and we're seen as having crucial roles in holding the data, understanding the data that powers AI for the organisation. So right now, I think marketers are in a great position. Johnny, you've just been through the fire of it?
Yeah, I'd probably echo that. I can talk, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool building society person, so I should have said that at the outset. So building societies, I'm in a fortunate position in that the majority of the board are made up of FDs, people who are really interested in the number side of things. We're looked at as the ideas creators and the solution people across the business. Interestingly, AI is right on the lips of our board, and it's part of the check and challenge we've had around getting approval for the investment in data of. I think it's fair to say some NEDs are very interested in AI with very limited understanding of the practical implications of it. So it's been very difficult to take them on that education journey to say, no, the practical examples are, and this is how we can make sure we don't go down a technical cul-de-sac. But I think we're represented quite well.
I think the board have got AI FOMO. They're trying to learn about it. They've heard about it on the Today programme. They've listened to it on, whatever podcast. They know the business needs to do something, and they need a part of the organisation that will bring that to them. And if we can show data powering AI actually is going to help, I think it puts marketers in a really strong position. I don't know what you think, Ian?
Well, I think you need to ask yourself a number of questions to see where data is. I think there's a number of things. First of all, is where do your teams sit in the organisation? And by that I mean that are they a power for good or a power for evil? And I really mean that because when I took over Insight at Enlighten, which then became Avios, the team were seen to be just troublemakers because they had all the data, they had all the understanding, and they just used to kill businesses' cases off. So people were excluding them from the debate. They were bringing them in at the last minute, and they were treating them as operations guys that produced MI rather than Insight. So I think as an Insight team, the first thing you need to do to support the board is understand where you and your team are and whether you've got the right level of debate, right? Because I always see, like the House of Commons, when you've got those two people debating across a chamber, that's what you want with the board. They want to see you as an intellectual equal, not as just someone who produces MI.
Yeah.
And so you've got to raise that level of stakes. And the only way you can do that is by having a warehouse of goodwill. And with your discussion this morning, you must feel like you've got a warehouse of goodwill internally, because I guess the CEO now trusts you to go and do that batshit crazy stuff that you want to do, right? But if you don't have that level of debate, then you'll lose. You will lose. And there's no, the other thing is understanding where the organisation is in this cycle. I know we've had that cycle before, but I really mean team-wise. Have you got the trust in that warehouse of goodwill to go and to be given the freedom to do the things you want to do and to have the ear of people? And that comes from having the right relationships in the organisation. And the best thing to do is write a list of all the people, all your stakeholders, and say, where are you and where do you think you have to be? Because if there's a big gap, you've got to close that gap. Especially with the CFO. If the CFO doesn't trust you, you've got to shut that gap.
But that's interesting. So who else does stakeholder mapping as a regular exercise, say once a year?
Right,
it's such a powerful...
Oh, you've got to do it.
So, because you'll find out where your friends are, where your allies are, where you need to kind of spend some time, where you need to man mark, who you need to kind of watch in specific meetings. And it's a really useful way to kind of... negotiate and circumnavigate some of the arguments that...
And give yourself little KPIs. I used to say, if there's a big gap, I want a Christmas card off them right? And then you have to get close enough to them. You know, something like that where you say, do they know me good enough to just invite me out for a drink or something?
It doesn't have
or
to be
that?
you, right? You can divide and conquer, right?
Absolutely,
So,
you can
do
in
you
a
get on
team.
there, right? You can-
100%.
And also knowing the evidence that you can give those guys.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking to the CFO, by definition, a numbers person. That's pretty close to data. You can turn your data into insight numbers that the CFO will love.
Yeah.
Show them in the language that they need to know. Speak to them in the language they need to know. And you know, it's not hard for a marketer to do that. We've moved from fluffy creative marketing. It's part of it. I get it. But data is hard-edged, it's precise, and you can go talk to a CFO, and they can just run the numbers. That's their world, you know. Spreadsheet, numbers at the bottom. Let's show how marketing is going to fit into that. There'll be other stakeholders where you need a different aspect of it, and it might be, you know, the roadmap down the line for where we're going with AI. Somebody needs to be a futurologist, speak about the future of the business. You talk, John, about, you know, we're here now, but this is where we want to get to. Some of the board will be thinking about that. So let's speak that language as well.
And I think just picking across all the points there, it's again something that was mentioned earlier. It's the right message in the right format at the right time. So it's knowing the audience, it's knowing who those people are. And it's something we went through with our particular board recently.
But two extra builds for me. So I think marketing has been critical in terms of not having that commercial nous. And so, you know, there might be somebody in the team that can talk numbers, and, you know, to your point, is to kind of get them involved. And but that's where often you get, you know, somebody in finance that can help you land that argument. So, you know, budding up with them and presenting your case as a sort of joint is a good way forward.
But also to build on that, what you just said there is talk to your team, because often in insight, your teams are probably lots of introverts.
Yeah.
Or lots of introverts who really, really know it, but they will certainly not tell the CEO or the CFO, but they'll tell you if you know them. And they'll often, first thing I did in my insight team is say, tell me what the guys need to know. And that was a gold mine for a year of good stuff, because they were desperate to tell people, but they wouldn't tell them because they didn't want to. They were shy. They didn't want to tell people stuff. You know, they'll tell you, and then you need to find a way of telling the board. Yeah.